Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Operations at the National Public Health Laboratory and the Blood Bank on Slappin Road, Kingston, have been severely affected as medical technologists have taken industrial action. General Secretary of the Union of Administrative and Supervisory Personnel, UTASP, St. Patrice Ennis, says the majority of workers did not turn up for duties this morning. He says they are upset they have not received retroactive payments for the 2015-2017 contract period. The workers were promised the payment in their February salary. Mr. Ennis says only some workers received the money.
Receiving their retroactive payment for the 2015 to 2017 contract period. We have been promised over and over by the Ministry of Health that such payments were to be made. In February, we were given promises in December, we were given promises in January, and those promises have not been fulfilled.
But when our news team spoke with the director at the National Public Health Laboratory, we were told there wasn't a strike. However, it was highlighted that a number of workers called in sick. The suspect who was being questioned in connection with yesterday's assault on the Falmouth Hospital in Trelawney has been released. No other person is being questioned in relation to the incident at this time. The accident and emergency department of the hospital was damaged during an attack by relatives and friends of a man who died at the institution while undergoing treatment following a motor vehicle crash. Deputy Superintendent with the Trelawney Police, Winston Milton, gave an update.
Our investigation so far have not gathered any evidence implicating him, that individual in the incident. We are continuing our investigation in earnest with a view of bringing this matter to closure, at least within a reasonably short time. Hopefully by the end of the day, we should be at a point where we're able to determine who the perpetrators are.
He says he could not confirm whether any health worker was injured during the incident. Meanwhile, Regional Director of the Western Regional Health Authority, Dr. Ken Garfield Douglas, expressed disappointment at the incident which unfolded at the Falmouth Hospital on Sunday.
I'm as disappointed as I guess the rest of Jamaica would be that persons would take it upon themselves to destroy a public institution that we offer care to, because of an event that apparently neither them nor us had any control over.
He says persons had no right to damage the public health facility. He added that persons should appreciate the efforts of doctors and other healthcare professionals to ensure the needs of patients are met.
Sometimes it does not work. And I don't think that because it didn't work in this occasion, that they had the reaction was warranted in terms of trying to destroy the hospital compound out of pure ignorance.
I asked a question to the
Residents of Cook Street in Savannah Lamar, Westmoreland are crying out for help as their community has been the target of gunmen. The latest incident took place about 7 o'clock yesterday evening. Reports indicate that gunmen opened fire on a house in the community, shooting 3 persons, including an elderly man. They were rushed to the hospital where the elderly man was admitted in critical condition. Residents say they are fearful as they believe the police are not doing enough.
With the police, as something happened, they rush around here. They rush around here, they rush to certain home, they harass young persons, meaning they try every way to instigate people from this area. I don't know why. And again, I said I don't want to know why, because we don't see, I don't want to say they are taking sides, but I'm saying that they are not doing enough. They are not doing enough. They are not doing enough to curtail what is happening.
Since the start of the year, 6 persons have been shot in the community. Are unions still relevant? That's the question many persons are asking as the wage negotiations continue between government and public sector workers. Speaking on TVJ's Smile Jamaica on Monday, President of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions JCTU, Helene Davis-White, explains what the unions are doing.
The Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, JCTU President Helene Davis-White, says unions in the JCTU have been reinventing themselves. She adds that unions have been changing their mode of operation for several years now.
For several years now, what we have been using is the social dialogue approach, which means that we are working with the social partners to be able to get what it is that we want. Of course, when you go into social partnership kind of talks, each of us come to the table with our own desires and so on, and then you try to find a way to be able to get what each one wants without destroying
the common ground.
Right.
As part of reinventing themselves, Mrs. Davis-White says trade unions have pursued a new form of representation. The JCTU represents individual and groups as well.
Certainly within Jamaica, one of the things that we sought to ensure is that once you could define a worker to include a contractor, if the service that the person was offering to the employer was within a particular context, then it meant that the unions could represent the individual.
Mrs. Davis-White adds that they are looking at different types of services to make trade unions relevant.
The original organization of workers into factories and that kind of setting is now on the wane, and so we have to make ourselves relevant by going out there and identifying where these opportunities are and be able to actually advocate, because those are the skills that trade unionists bring.
Shane Masters, TVJ News.
An education system that is not founded on good morals and principles is bound to fail. That's according to Chief Education Officer Grace McLean, who says the Education Ministry will be providing greater support to the early childhood sector. Ms. McLean says private partnerships are important for the education sector to grow. She noted that the ministry will ensure that children are supported for at least the first 3 years of their lives.
That's about the first 3+ years, which are the most important years of their lives. Those 3 years are those years where their little values are developed, where they understand what is going on in the real world, where they understand what is right from wrong, and where they understand how they are to organize themselves as little children as they move into the primary sector.
Mrs. McLean argued that funding is critical to ensure...
We within the Ministry of Education are now ensuring that we are channeling as much resources as we possibly can to assist these institutions, especially those that are operating in some of the deep rural areas of Jamaica and some of our inner city communities who really can't afford to pay for early childhood education.
Hundreds of cane cutters at the Golden Grove Sugar Factory in St. Thomas have been staying off the job in protest since Wednesday. The workers, who are contracted by another company to work with the sugar factory, are upset they are not being treated right. They list lack of benefits as the main issue, including not being allowed sick leave and not being compensated for injuries on the job. They say they are frustrated with the working conditions and have tried unsuccessfully to meet with the company's management. Our news team was unable to get a comment from the company about the allegations. Students and other commuters in Irwin and Tucker St. James were affected by this morning's protest involving taxi operators. The operators withdrew their service to protest the state of roads in the community. One resident who spoke with our news team says he agrees with the steps being taken.
I walk from here, you know. Car park up. So the taxi man them say them strike today. Good thing them go on with. We need some road for you. We need some road.
He contends that the way how road work is done is an issue.
Them say the Prime Minister passes the other day, them just patch one little piece down there. So I'm to road and so I'm going to walk. So I'm to be with the walk.
In news overseas, a deadly storm system with relentless rains and fierce winds hammered parts of the American Midwest and the South over the weekend. Meteorologists say it could lead to more flooding in the days ahead. Details from the CNN.
Images of a tornado touching down near the Kentucky-Tennessee border, caught on cell phone video. According to the National Weather Service, parts of Kentucky and Tennessee were under a tornado watch until early Sunday morning. Most of the damage happened late Saturday.
I looked outside and started seeing the trees start bowing and start doing this. And right about that time, I all of a sudden felt the pressure on the window. And I went, gotta go. We gotta go.
Several people in Kentucky were killed due to the severe storms. Governor Matt Bevin tweeted his condolences and warned residents to take the weather watches and warnings seriously. Parts of the state also dealt with this massive flooding. Emergency officials say that after the damaging wind threat and heavy showers, flash flooding will continue this week. And in some areas of Tennessee,
it started raining real hard, and then he saw this barn, the metal from this barn, take off, and then the windows busted out.
The storm ripped through home after home, destroying nearly everything in sight. In the Buckeye State, heavy rain led to widespread flooding.
You never can take Mother Nature for granted. The good news is damage, yes, infrastructure damage, but to people, loss of life, no loss of life.
And even parts of Arkansas witnessed the devastation. At least one storm-related death has been confirmed there.
Still overseas, the House Intelligence Committee has made a Democratic Party memo seeking to undercut GOP claims of FBI surveillance abuses available to the public. It's the latest in the saga involving investigations into Russian interference in the 2016 American presidential election.
The memo from House Intelligence Committee Democrats makes the case that the FBI had plenty of reason to get a secret court order to do surveillance of former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. Now, this contradicts the memo that was released a few weeks ago by Republicans who claimed that the FBI would not have been able to get permission for that surveillance without an opposition research dossier paid for by Democrats and put together by former British spy Christopher Steele. Democrats say that the Steele dossier played only a small part in the surveillance application, and they say that the FBI had years of concerns about Carter Page's Russian contacts and the possibility that they were trying to recruit him. They also say that the FBI told the court that the dossier was funded by people politically motivated to discredit the Trump campaign. The memo says that Carter Page surveillance began in October of 2016 and ended in September of 2017. Page was no longer part of the Trump campaign when the surveillance was actually done. And the Democrats say that the FBI and the Justice Department provided information from, quote, multiple independent sources that corroborated Steele's reports. Now, there's lots of redactions in the report that was put out, and we know that the FBI was opposed to releasing both this memo and the earlier one from Republicans because of concerns of damage to national security.
And in sports, the ISA Boys and Girls Athletics Championships is known for unearthing athletes from non-traditional powerhouse schools. One athlete who will be looking to come to the fore at this year's staging is Petersfield Class 1 sprinter Kevon Stone. Stone took the Class 1 boys sprint double at the Western Athletics Championships, clocking times of 10.71 and 20.93 respectively. He says he is right where he needs to be with the champs approaching.
The 100 meters, I've been running it good, so I know that I have the speed, and I've been running some 4x4, so the 200 meters is really nothing.
But even with high hopes for boys champs, Stone, who won silver in the 100 meters at the 2017 Commonwealth Youth Games in the Bahamas, says he is happy to be competing based on where he was 1 year ago.
Well, last year, this time I was injured, so I'm happy. So yeah, I'm really happy that I can come out here and compete.
The ISA Boys and Girls Athletics Championships will be held from March 20 to March 24. And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Do remember to join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.